Uh-huh.
Does that work? Okay.
Yes, now we can see your slides.
Oh,
Try to
no.
check them, please.
There we go. Okay. I hope this will work.
Uh-huh.
So you can see that.
Yes.
All right, good. Um, Let me first start by thanking everyone involved for giving me this opportunity to talk in honor of Andre's birthday, and let me say, if I can, Sdiem Rodezhnia to him, and more in a more Balkan way, let me say, Is Polaeti or Spolaiti. My talk today will involve the voicing of a voiceless stop, for which I will use the capital T, standing in for P, T, and K, after a nasal, where the capital N stands for M, N, and Ng. That gives an N plus D, where D stands for B, D, or G. This development is found in several Balkan languages, as noticed by Skok and by Sandfeld, and is argued by Friedman and myself to be a Balkanism. Thus, earlier MP gives MB, NT gives ND, and NK gives NG. This is found in Albanian, Romanian, and Greek. This can be seen as connected to the phenomenon noted by Miklosic regarding what he called nasal onlaut, the word initial or syllable initial occurrences of a nasal plus a stop, as in Albanian mbret for king or nde for spread. Friedman and Joseph state that this nasal onlaut aspect of the ND combinations in the Balkans would seem to be a good candidate for a local phonological Balkanism. And this is further connected to variation involving N plus a voiced stop. For instance, in Greek today, between ND and ND, for instance, the word for five as pende or pede, or in Albanian as ND versus N, as in mbret versus mret for king, since the ND combination often originates from an earlier NT. As for Greek, it shows NT to ND as a key phonological development from classical Greek into the modern language, as in the word for five that I just mentioned, where ancient Greek had pente with a t, and modern Greek has pende with a d, or pede with no nasal. Within Greek, the variation between ND and D has a history of at least 100 years, and maybe more, possibly a lot more. And a consideration of this variation is my main goal today, with an eye towards developments with nasal plus stop clusters in the Balkans more generally as well. I aim to offer a new perspective on the variation involving ND in Greek and on a contrast with Turkish in this regard, opening the possibility of applying these insights to developments found with these sounds in the other Balkan languages. The insights into Greek come from an examination of the dialect of Lesvos, the island of Lesvos, in comparison to the dialect of Adrianoupoli, also known as Adrianople, which is the form I will use today, and known as Edirne in Turkish, as it's called today, as it is located in the Republic of Turkey, in European Turkey, near the border with Bulgaria and with Greece. This is a map of the relevant area identifying Adrianople. Now, why do we make this comparison, and why do I choose these two dialects? The choice of these two dialects for comparison is not completely accidental, because they have many common features that make such a comparison important and revealing. From a dialectological point of view, both of these are Northern Greek dialects exhibiting features generally found in other Northern dialects, such as the removal of unstressed vowels e and u, the raising of unstressed vowels e and o to e and u, and the use of the accusative case instead of the genitive case to mark an indirect object. In terms of their history, both Edirne and Lesvos were parts of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Turks conquered Edirne in 1369 and Lesvos in 1462. That is, both were under Turkish rule for about the same period of time, a few centuries for each region in question. From the point of view of linguistic contact, the Ottoman Turkish rule in Adrianople and in Lesvos resulted in a strong influence from Turkish on these two Greek dialects. From the point of view of linguistic documentation and linguistic description, we have excellent materials from about the same period, that is, from the beginning of the 20th century. I will explain the documentation of each dialect. What we know about the Greek dialect of Adrianople comes from a wonderful study by Father Louis Roncesvalles, a Frenchman born in the city of Adrianople itself. He was an expert on the languages and culture of Oriental countries, and in 1911, in the Journal Asiatique, he published a three-part article entitled Turkish Loans in Vernacular Greek from Rumelia, and especially from Adrianople, which ran to a total of 173 pages. This is a picture of the title page of the issue of the journal. Even though it is a lexical study, a vocabulary study, we can learn a lot about the phonology and morphology of the dialect. The knowledge we gain from this study is also important in terms of making a meaningful comparison with the Lesbian dialect. As for the dialect of Lesvos, we have the rich study of the German linguist Paul Kretschmer from 1905, based on a scientific expedition he made to the island in 1901, along with a large recording device, which at the time was the best technology in the world. And with such a device, he made what I believe is the first recording of the Greek language. Today, it is in a phonogram archive of the Austrian Academy of Sciences. Just as an aside, this is a picture of the recording machine that Kretschmer carried with him to Lesvos on this expedition. State-of-the-art technology at the time. When we put all of this together, we can see that with Adrianople Greek and Lesvos Greek, we have two varieties of the Greek language with the same northern dialectal base. We have two varieties that were part of the Ottoman Empire for about the same period of time. We have two varieties that, due to Ottoman rule, were subjected to significant linguistic influences from Turkish. And we have two varieties that are documented from about the same time of the Ottoman Empire, roughly 100 years ago. This picture of the two dialects means that it would be particularly interesting to compare them. Of course, they have a lot in common in many respects, but the question is whether there are also differences between them. And the answer is yes, and the differences depend on their reaction to Turkish influence. Regarding the Greek dialect of Adrianople, we find that it was largely influenced by Turkish in some parts of the lexicon. The spelling that I'm using here is based on Roncesvalles' representations. So we find common everyday words. For instance, binas for building from Turkish bina, köpek from dog from Turkish köpek. There's grammatical material, as with the Turkish interrogative particle mu. For instance, "Varetsmu," will you come? Will you come? Question, mu. We also find material embedded in discourse, such as exclamations, evaluative expressions, and the like, as in yazık, what a pity, from Turkish yazık, usht, to drive away dogs or to silence someone, from Turkish usht, utanmaz, scoundrel, from Turkish utanmaz, olmaz, impossible, I don't believe it, from Turkish olmaz, and also greetings. For instance, uğurlar olsun, hello, from Turkish uğurlar olsun, good luck. Literally, may it be a good luck, or may it be good luck, or may it be a good luck charm. These loans attest to a very close and intimate contact between Greek speakers and Turkish speakers in Edirne, a contact with conversational interactions shown by greetings, for instance. There are some words of this type also in the Lesbian dialect in the Ottoman period, and they show that Turkish had a strong influence on Greek there. That is, we find some words that are of a kind that are incorporated into discourse. Kretschmer, for instance, gives examples of such loans. Barim, at least, from Turkish bari, with a provincial variant barim, with a final M. Zer, for certainly, from Turkish sahir, obviously or clearly. And there are several other such words. Lesbian may not show the same intensity of the results of contact with Turkish that we find in Edirne, but what's important is that such loans exist, showing that there was some degree of very intimate contact. We must remember this when we look at a feature of comparative interest in Greek dialectology, namely the diversity across dialects in the pronunciation of nasal plus stop clusters, the ND variant. There are dialects that have ND with a nasal in the middle of a word due to phonotactic constraints. We see this particularly in loan words. Newton, 1972, notes that speakers in the Peloponnese have somba with a nasal in the middle for the Turkish word soba, meaning stove, without a nasal. This situation means that the non-nasalized voice stops, for instance, just the D alone, are restricted to initial position in the word, and medially a nasal was needed to accompany the voiced stop. Now, some of this diversity was realized within the larger population, with one group of speakers having ND with the nasal and another group having just the D. But the Greek linguist Kostas Kazazis in 1976 describes his own pronunciation and says that he himself has both ND and D, and the use of one sound or the other in particular words depends on the context of the discourse and to whom he is speaking. Also, in an article I did with Amalia Arvaniti, it was noted that there is variation between ND and D within the use of individual speakers, as well as a difference that depends, in Athens at least, on age, with older speakers having ND and younger speakers having simply the D with no nasal. And also in a Greek Rebetika song, I hope I can play this for you, from Constantinople from around 1920, we find variation between ND and D in the language of the speaker, namely the singer Rosa Eskenazi. Now, I will try to play this for you and listen for the pronunciation manga with a nasal and glendi with a nasal. Let's see if this works.
It seems there's no sound. Now we don't hear it.
Because you didn't share the sound.
Brian, please try to share the sound while sharing the picture, because now.
Okay, how do I do that? I go to.
Well, probably just restart your.
Oh, okay. Stop share and then restart.
Share again, and while you are sharing, there is
audio.
Share the sound. It is somewhere on the right.
There it is. Okay, let me try this now. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So listen, please listen carefully for the manga, and then later for glendi. Did you hear manga there?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, keep listening.
Ξανά είδω μπροστά μου
hear manga there? Okay, keep listening. Glendy is coming up. I hope you just heard Glendy there. Now, near the end of the song, when Rosa was talking to the musicians, she says the word ade without a nasal. I hope you can hear that. Coming up. Right there, she said ade. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen.
And I just remind that we still have
only 5
minutes.
Okay.
To go with.
Then let's see. How will I do this? Share and share.
Share.
Oh no, share and video. No, screen. There we go. Okay, can you see it again? Yeah. All right. Good.
Yes.
So I only have 5 more minutes. Okay, I will hurry through this, and I will not play it. Then I have another song, but I will not play it for you. But I will tell you about it. What we find in 20th century Lesvos from Kretschmer's recordings is that there are speakers with ND, with the nasal, and others with D. Newton, for instance, gives kuda with no nasal for konda, meaning near. But Kretschmer's singer has konda with a nasal. And in the 3 songs that he recorded, the singer has 4 words with N plus a D, and all of them have the nasal. As I say, I won't play that for you, but in this first song, he says angele with a nasal there, meaning a dear one. So in some of the dialects, we find ND and D variation as a result of phonotactic constraints, D only in the initial position, ND only in the middle of a word. We find that the sociolinguistic situation makes a difference with the depending on who you are talking to. That's what Kazazi said, or with Rosa Eskenazi. And there can be regional dialect differences as well, geographic differences. Now, in this last regard, the speaker who sang for Kretschmer was a Pontian from Samsun in eastern Turkey. So what we see maybe in his nasal pronunciation versus the non-nasal pronunciation by other speakers is a mixture of dialects that gives variation to the entire Lesvos community. But I'd like to offer a different interpretation. In Rosa Eskenazi's song, the ND comes when she sings, that is, when she is performing, and the D comes when she is addressing the musicians, that is, when she's chatting with them, having a conversation with them. In Lesvos, the speaker with ND is singing for Kretschmer. He was recording him after all. And this is a very unnatural and perhaps even somewhat anxiety-provoking and uncomfortable situation. So it's somewhat like he was performing. Moreover, when we look at Ronzavale's data from Adrianople, we see that the loans from Turkish show both ND and D in Greek, as well as an NT with a voiceless stop as well. But it's not a matter of variation, because for almost every such word, the NT, ND, or D in Greek exactly match their corresponding pronunciation in the Turkish source. So Adrianople Greek has kantar for scale, from Turkish kantar with a T, kandila for lamp, from Turkish kandil with a nasal and a voiced stop, and sades for undecorated or plain, from Turkish sade with no nasal and simply the D. So this shows that for Edirne speakers, the ND pronunciation is not a matter of phonotactics, but rather an awareness of what was in the Turkish form. The presence of the NT cluster in Turkish helped the Greek speakers to use the nasal pronunciation with some ease. And it's important also that when Rosa Eskenazi used a form with just the D without a nasal, ade, she was using a colloquial element that comes from the Turkish word hade or hade, occurs without a nasal. And the words that she pronounced with an ND, such as mangas or glendi, have ND in Turkish, manga and eglendim. So her pronunciation of ND matches the corresponding pronunciation in Turkish. And I will close by giving a parallel explanation to what we see in the Greek of southern Albania. There are Greek speakers there who have a cluster with a strong nasal, for instance, opos mbenis, taspitia, as you enter the houses with an MB for the word for enter, where this pronunciation can be attributed to the strong nasal found in the cluster in Albanian and in initial position. This is the nasal anlaut that Miklosic referred to. For instance, mbül for closes has M plus B in initial position. So we can say that Greek speakers in southern Albania who know Albanian quite well are comfortable with such a nasal pronunciation. And that's where I will end. Let me say thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Brian. Probably 1 minute for a couple of small questions. Oh, maybe there will be just many of them. Andrei Nikolaevich definitely has a question.
Thank you. Dear Brian, dear colleagues, it's an honor for me to hear this presentation. And what I wanted to note, just briefly, is that your presentation is a bridge to the first talk we heard today by Evgeny Vassilievich, with the major topic of linguistic awareness. You perfectly show how Balkan speaker, aware of his language 1 and of some language 2, perhaps language 3, behaves differently in different situations of communications. So I have just to thank you for the brilliant presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrei. Coming from you, this is high praise indeed. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. It does show that the Balkan speakers were very comfortable in the multilingual context of the language interactions that they engaged in. So thank you. I will check out that first paper as best I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One more question from Sandra.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to see you and to listen to you. I'm wondering whether you have studied anthroponymy like Postandin or Postadin, Anton, Andon, because they are widely spread in all Balkan languages and maybe you have interesting observations. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you for that observation. Yes, I think you're quite right. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going on, and our next talk will be presented by Maxim Kisilier, who is here, and Tanguy Solliec, who is online. The question is a Greek salad, a cross comparison of Greek linguistic influence on some minority languages spoken in Greece. Tanguy, can you hear us?
Yes, and can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. The floor is yours.
I'm going to share my screen. Is it okay for you? Do you see it?
Yes, try to change the slides.
So.
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay, wonderful. So, вначале мне нужно сказать, Андрей Николаевич, что я вас поздравляю поздно со днем рождения и очень рад быть с вами сегодня. No, thank you for the organizers. And so the naive metaphor I and Maxim Kisilier are referring to is just a pretext to think about direct language contact between Greek and minority languages spoken on the Greek soil, both currently and recently. This is the very first step on an investigations on the outcomes of recent language contacts between dominant language or languages and minority languages in different regions, with the possibility to contrast these cases with other situations when the so-called dominant language is spoken in a minority context. And in fact, this investigation started as an extension of the recent Atlas of the Balkan Linguistic Area project led by Andrei Sobolev and Evogalia Adamou. So Greek has been for a long time an official language and a language of reference in Southeastern Europe, because the country has provided many lexemes to the surrounding languages, especially during the Byzantine period. Greek, and more specifically, northern dialects belongs to the Balkan linguistic area. However, it is generally considered to be located at its periphery, since modern Greek lacks many Balkanisms present at the core of the area. And many phenomena due to contact appear in Middle Ages and during the Ottoman period, and spread either from one language to another or from parallel developments. And then the form Balkanisms that are attested in different languages of the region at different degree. And I hope the forthcoming atlas will open a new way to see this Balkanism. And one major factor that has led to the diffusion of shared linguistic features is the presence of a shared linguistic repertoire resulting from a 4M situation, as Brian Joseph has just remembered us. And the 4M model, labeled likewise by Friedman and Joseph, is for multilateral, multidirectional, and mutual multilingualisms. And one of the most common outcomes of this situation is constituted by the ERIC loans, which stands for essentially rooted in conversation. And we had just got one more example in the talk before. And then more generally in Balkanism. So here is the roadmap for our talk. And with Maxim Kisilier, we intend to focus on contact phenomena involving Greek and direct neighboring languages that occur at a smaller case than in the case of Balkanism. Can refer to the definition of borrowing in given by Matras in 2020, and general outcome is the presence of a structure that was absent at the previous stage of a language, or that cannot be explained only on the basis of internal linguistic change factors. Borrowing is observed at different levels with the introduction of new structures due to a donor language or from it into a recipient variety. Here are the varieties in the scope, and it's just a programmatic, and was many of the varieties which were documented in the Atlas of the Balkan Linguistic Area project. And here you can get a map with distribution of this location. And so when trying to think about the methodology we will use, in fact, it appears that subsequent challenges for every parameters involved in our approach. So we had would like to focus on direct contact between Greek and the minority varieties. However, Greek is not necessarily the exclusive source of the borrowing, and other languages can have influenced the varieties and the scope as well. So, for example, I'd. But we have tried as far as possible to leave aside widespread Balkanism. So if we consider the period under study, we can refer to different historical stages, but it's quite difficult to establish a very precise period because in fact contact is a kind of cognitive process that is iterated all over the time, and where we have to focus on the sources and the material in order to try to give the best, the more precise time scale we can get. And moreover, as I was mentioning, Greek is not the only source of language for many varieties, and sometimes Greek has only an echo or triggers parallel structures in the recipient languages in collaboration, I can say like that, with other languages. So that's why we won't focus only on Balkanism, which have originated in Greek, such as the complementizer OT, which is well spread across the region. We would like to focus on direct contacts between this variety. And moreover, in this case, we also are confronted to the intersection of language contact, but also of, in some cases, of a linguistic attrition and a language change, as well as we have just had an overview before. And each parameters involved in our methodology raises many questions and opens several perspectives. So if we focus on the lexicon from the Atlas of the Linguistic Area Online database, we can find some, in the case of direct contact, we can find examples that are Eric loans. So for example, Tata from spoken Greek found in Romanian, which is in itself an Eric loan, but when we try to focus on other ones, such as 1000, it is found in Greece as well, but also outside Greece. More interestingly, the Roman variety of Parakalamos has borrowed days of the week or name for the months from Greek. And the influence of Greek, direct influence in Greek, can be found in realia or when referring to the institutions. So we have some things for table or bed, for example, in Romani, or for clothes for in Nashta. And the institutional lexicon used and borrowed directly from Greek in Romani from Parakalamos or in Nashta. Interestingly, so when we focus on grammatical words, so there are, which most of them are well-known Balkanism, such as the adversative but, which is widespread, but direct contact with Greek can trigger a new can give a new impulse to the borrowing. And so, for example, in Agia Vavara Romani, spoken in Athens, there is a new borrowing from Greek, which is used alongside Turkish ones. And of course, once more, Romani in Parakalamos have used many grammatical words, such as modal verbs, apart from the verb want, which are directly borrowed from Greek. And here are some examples of preposition and adverbs. So, if we focus on the grammar, more specifically in grammatical features which are found in the Habla database, and once more, we are doing our best not to focus on widespread Balkanism, but trying to identify some kind of more punctual contact. We can find in Pomak a distinction between feminine and masculine for third-person pronouns in the singular and in the plural, while it is not attested in the neighboring Slavic varieties, and this is why since the features is attested in Greek, it could be a result from this influence. One more thing, which is also an illustration of the process involved by continuous interaction between speakers of different languages, are the loan verb markers that can be found in Pomak. Here is the S in bold letter. That's a loan verb marker which originated in the aorist marker in Greek, and Romani, and which was at first used with borrowed Greek verbs. And another strategy appears in the Romani of Parakalamos, trying to use directly Greek person and tense marker with Greek derived verbs instead of specific loan verbs markers. In some cases, contact with Greek can result in the apparition, the emergence of a new category, such as the perfect in Romani. So here, for example, an example from Sofades, and that's an innovation which is present only in Romani varieties spoken in Greece, with also an innovative verb have, derived from the Romani word for to old. In the realm of complex clauses, I've mentioned the complementizer oti from Greek origin, which is present in several Balkan languages. But if we, in the case of the Romani spoken in Parakalamos, we can see many subordinators borrowed from Greek and associated to enumerated complementizer te. Here are some examples. So for before and apart, and matras in his description of the variety give really interesting explanation about the semantic specificities of some verbs and some prepositions, and why they are more borrowable than other ones. I'm just so if we try to characterize from these few examples the linguistic contact, the direct linguistic contact between Greek and minority languages spoken in Greece, we can have examples when Greek is a direct donor language. So such it is exemplified by the Eric loans, so loan verb markers and complementizers. And once more, it's a very interesting and illustration of the 4L model I was referring to earlier. In some cases, these when this direct language contact happen, Greek can work as a vector of Balkanism and offer then convey diffusion of phenomena present in the Balkan linguistic area. And maybe more interestingly, with what we have seen in the Romani variety of Parakalamos, there is a trend to the densification of these features in the recipient variety rather than the adoption of new features. And then a third category is when Greek is a trigger for a structural restructuration, and Greek, if we consider it as a model, causes a reorganization of the linguistic structure, and then a new one can appear, so such as a perfect in Romani, or disappear with, for example, the reduction of the phonemic inventory in Havanatica amongst terminal speakers. But once more, is it only due to contact, or are there other factors which are at work here, especially in case of an obsolescent variety? And then to conclude, these are really first observations drawn from our work we started with Maxim in the aftermath of the Atlas of the Balkan Linguistic Area Online project. And these are first observation and not firm conclusion, of course. And in-depth investigation must be continued. Moreover, this presentation is just a glimpse of the material under the scope of our study, and this is just a starting point of some ideas to ponder and to consider further. So what we have seen there is that there are found layers of context situations which has added one to another, and which mirror also different period of time. We must remember that Greek is not the only donor language. More specifically, we can think about if there is a specific sociolinguistic profile for explaining different cases of language contact outcomes. For example, it seems that some of the varieties which entered the Greek-speaking area at a later period are more prone to heavy borrowing. And then I think that could offer this work could offer also a refinement of the 4M model, which attempts to assess the strengths of different parameters involved in the model, and they could be refined according to the chronology, geographic distribution, and different languages involved. And then further perspective would be to contrast these results with situations in which varieties of Greek are or were spoken in minority contexts. So, спасибо за ваше внимание. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanguy and Maxim, for the amazing talk. A couple of small questions and comments. Definitely we have some. Colleagues on Zoom, if you have some questions, yes, just raise your hand. Brand applause.
Brian,
Это аплодисменты.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Now, yes.
Thank you, Tanguy, for a very enlightening talk. I wanted to just focus on one small detail. You mentioned the word for bed in Romani, kravati with an a, where standard Greek has krevati with an s. And it's interesting to look at the history of the word krevati, because in earlier stages of Greek, and therefore possibly in some regional dialects still today, we have kravati in Greek itself. So a detail that looks like a change that that Romani did to the word may actually be a carryover of a Greek a dialectal Greek form with the alpha kravati. Just a detail; it doesn't change your.
Anyway, it's thank you very much for this. This information, and it's always amazing when we focus on the vernaculars, how languages seem to be far more complex and richer, and just as you have illustrated it. So, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. Andrei Nikolaevich, your question, please.
Chers collègues, я буду говорить по-русски, поскольку знаю, что Танguy прекрасно понимает наш язык.
Максим,
тоже. И буду говорить очень кратко, поскольку времени нет, но не очень быстро. Я хотел бы сказать, что привлечение внимания к лингвистическому разнообразию Греции, тем более детальное исследование как самих контактных ситуаций, так и результатов языкового взаимодействия, это новость в балканской лингвистике и в эллинистике. И это направление заслуживает всяческой поддержки и развития. Конечно же, это чрезвычайно исключительно богатая ситуация и диахронически глубокая, разной глубины, и вот по сочетаниям факторов, воздействующих на языковые изменения, местами даже уникальны. Я хотел бы обратить внимание на редундантность или плеоназмы, вроде заимствованного элемента, который соседствует с исконным. Это наблюдается повсеместно в той же самой Греции. Вот там у румын какой-нибудь КЦ эпиды в качестве причинного союза функционирует. И хотел бы обратить внимание еще вот на что. Все-таки греческий язык не ядерный язык Балканского языкового союза, а, как это принято говорить, периферийный. Он частью балканизмов не обладает, например, таким как плеоназм глагольной системы. Он попроще, чем, например, балкано-славянский с разными наклонениями германскоизованным, вроде пересказывательного, да, или адмиративного в албанском. Так вот, воздействие греческого языка на балкано-славянский идет в направлении дебалканизации, и мы обнаруживаем диалекты Западной Македонии, греческой Западной Македонии, без тех категорий, которые мы хотели, привыкли видеть в южнославянских или балканославянских языках. Спасибо еще раз за замечательный доклад. Желаю вам дальнейших успехов на этом пути.
Спасибо. Thank you very much. Our next talk will be given by our colleague from Albania, Aristotle Spiro. Interlinguistic influences in the Greek-Albanian contact zone of Himarë. Aris, can you hear us?
Thank you. Yes. Can you share my screen?
Yes, please try. So you have this option. Yeah. Push share. You have a green button. Oh, okay, yeah, fine.
Is it okay? Can it be seen now?
Just a moment. So you are screen sharing, but yeah, now we see us actually. Try to share your another screen with your presentation, please. Yeah, you just have to stop the. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw your. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It's okay now. Can I do that? Good afternoon. I would like to thank the organizers of this beautiful conference for giving me the opportunity to address the audience and to present my paper. But before presenting this paper, I would like to wish from the bottom of my heart my dear friend Andrei and Professor Соболев a happy birthday. С днем рождения, гъзуар ditëlindjen. Ronja Polaj të fëqizmena që dimjurika, File Andrei. So I go on with the presentation. The subject of my presentation is interlinguistic influences in the Greek-Albanian contact zone of Himarë.
Yeah,
it is the result.
Make it sound louder.
Yeah.
Make your microphone a bit louder.
Yes. Can you hear me louder normally now? Am I heard?
More or less.
Yes. Is it normal now? My voice?
Maybe a bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is the result of several years of research carried out in collaboration with colleagues such as Tanguy Solliec, Brian Joseph, Alexander Novik, Regina Andozzi, and Melinda Spiro. My aim is to examine how centuries of bilingualism in this small region have shaped both languages and cultures, and how Himarë can be understood as a laboratory of Balkan linguistic interaction. Himarë on the Ionian coast of southeastern Albania is a historically multilingual and multicultural area. My research focuses on the Greek-speaking villages of Himarë, Dermi, and Palasa, and the Albanian-speaking villages of Vuno, Keparo, Pilur, and Kudus. The evidence shows that long-term coexistence and uninterrupted contact produced a shared local culture extending beyond language into clothing, food customs, and oral tradition. Such results challenge nationalist narratives that attempt to describe Himarë as ethnically or linguistically pure. Instead, Himarë should be viewed as a microcosm of Balkan contact, where Greek and Albanian shaped one another while maintaining distinct identities. The core of Himarë, often called the Upper Coast, consists of 7 villages, 3 Greek-speaking and 4 Albanian-speaking. Broader ethnographic usage sometimes extends the name Himarë to the lower coast, which includes villages such as Pikeras, Lukovë, Shëmbasi, Nevitës, Undësov, and Lëkurës. The Orthodox faith was historically the main defining criterion of belonging. This explains, for instance, why the village of Borsh, despite its location in the middle of the region, was not considered part of Himarë since its population was Muslim. In Himarë, then, religious affiliation counted more than language in defining identity. The study sets out 4 main aims. First, to investigate bilingualism in its historical depth. Second, to analyze phenomena of contact in the domain of phonetics, morphology, lexicon, and syntax. Third, to situate Himarë in the wider framework of the Balkan Sprachbund. And finally, to show how the evidence of bilingual coexistence undermines myths of linguistic and ethnic purity. For centuries, Greek was the prestige language in Himarë. It was the language of the Orthodox Church, of schooling, and of written communication. Even important petitions and diplomatic letters from the Himariots to the Pope of Rome and to the Empress Elizabeth of Russia were composed in Greek. After Albanian independence, and particularly from the 1920s onwards, Albanian gradually took over the official prestige language in the administration and education. Bilingualism weakened, and the Albanian-speaking villages, while in the Greek-speaking ones, Greek remained primarily a family language. The massive emigration to Greece in the 90s brought about a new revitalization of bilingualism, especially among the younger generations. Religion played a crucial role in shaping Himarë's identity. Orthodox Christianity united both the Greek and the Albanian-speaking communities of the region. The religious identities distinguished Himarë from neighboring Labaria, where large-scale Islamization had altered not only religion, but also social and linguistic practices. In Himarë, therefore, it was faith together with bilingualism that defined a sense of belonging. The historical movements of the Himariots also contributed to the linguistic complexity of the region. After the death of Skanderbeg, some of them migrated to southern Italy and founded Arboresh communities. Others became mercenaries in Venice, Naples, and elsewhere, gaining exposure to multiple languages. Under Ottoman rule, Himarë enjoyed a form of autonomy known as Venom, which allowed the population to preserve certain local institutions. Migration, mercenary service, and autonomy all created channels for constant linguistic and cultural influences. The prolonged coexistence of Greek and Albanians in Himarë gave rise to shared features in 4 principal domains: phonetics and phonology, morphology, lexicon, and pragmatics and syntax. Let me now illustrate some of the most important examples. In phonetics, one observes the delabialization of U, which becomes E. I have some examples here from Soturi 2001 and D, Dil, Fit, Frim, Gjik, Gisma, Greek, Il, Iti, Ini, Ki, Bil, instead of Dui, Dul, Fut, Frum, Gjik, Gisma, Greek, Ul, Uti, Uni, Ki, Un, Bil. But in Turkish loanwords, this U turns U, which differs from the Albanian dialects. From Buluk, it is heard Buluk, Burazer, Burek, Churuk, Dufek, Dushek, Gyule, Musafir, Mushteri, Kyup, Kimur, Kyrk, etc. Another feature is the retention of clusters Mba, Nda, Nga in Himarë, but also in the neighboring areas of Saranda, of the Greek-speaking areas in Saranda, Dropul, and Pagon. Another consequence of this feature is the nasalization of consonants B, D, G in the Albanian-speaking villages. Words like address is heard Andres, Derisa, Nderisa, Ndrejt, Ndrejta, Kender. This phenomenon is extended even in Kurvelesh, according to Totoni, where one can hear Nderisat, Ndrejten, Mandish, Ngunga. Another feature is the palatalization of K before front vowels in Albanian-speaking area of Himarë and even in Kurvelesh. Shkelm, Kich, Kind, Kilo, Kirurg, Skel, Skelet, Ski, Kima, Raki, Shpelefokes, Gjomuzhaq, after Sotiri, and Kilo, Ura, Skeles, Dikin, Lek Pershoki, after Totoni in Kurvelesh. Palatal K at the end of the words is another feature. Çardak, Furik, Pisk, Stomach, Çakmak, Senduk, and all these realizations reflect some pronunciation habits of the Greek phonetics of the region. Another feature is the palatal pronunciation of sh, which is pronounced sh in especially in Palasa, Kalosh, Mikrosh, Mishosh, and these habits are extended in the Albanian villages of Himarë, where one can hear Ashish, Ashosh, Kshish, Nisheshte. Another very characteristic feature is the assimilation of the cluster st in s. This is almost generalized in all the Greek-speaking areas of Himarë, and in Dermi, Drimades, and Palasa, but this phenomenon can be observed even in the Albanian-speaking villages of Himarë and beyond. Another common phonetic feature of the region is the metathesis of r, which is very usual in the Greek-speaking Himarë, Adrefos, Protogali, but it can be observed even in the Albanian-speaking areas, like Protogale in Keparo. In the domain of morphology, the suffixless ethnonyms is another feature which is observed both in the Greek-speaking and in Albanian-speaking areas. For example, Pilur, Kuch, means the inhabitant from Pilur and the inhabitant from Kuch. So in the Greek-speaking Himarë, one can hear Dromis or Piluras, which means the inhabitant of Drimades or Dermi, or the inhabitant of Piluri. Another feature is the use of the Greek prefix xe in the Albanian Himarë dialect. I have an example here, xe haroj. An Albanian diminutive in Greek is pouliza, which is used in the Greek-speaking Himarë. And there are some even semantic calques like jakthithus from the Greek emavoros. Jakthithus is observed only in Himarë and not in other regions of the Albanian-speaking areas. The lexicon is very interesting because it represents a vast variety of classifications. The first of which is the shared localisms, that is, words that are used mainly in Greek-speaking and Albanian-speaking Himarë. I have prepared a small glossary that covers about 10 pages, but I don't intend to read all examples here due to limited time. But you see here kukuma in Albanian and kukuma in Greek, that means coffee pot, by Mark in Albanian Himarë and by Marco in Greek Himarë. Malenya, that means back goat. Chepele and chepela, dry fig, bobble and bobbolas, snail. Another category of lexicon are the shared words with the Greek dialect of Delvina, Saranda, Dropul, and Pagone. Some very characteristic words can be found in Himarë and in these Greek-speaking areas southern to Himarë. In Bimi and Bimi, in both dialects, Chatore and Chatora, Shepherd tent, Chumliche, Chumlichen, Celtis Australis, Cafeci, and that means coffee pot, except for Picheras, where kukum is used. Luburdir and Lobodura, muddy water, Baruts, Berutza, and fur of the shepherds. Another category is a common terminology from third languages. From Slavic, we can mention a few of them. Bake in the Albanian dialects of Lower Himarë, and Beka in Saranda. Belets, white dog in Himarë, and Beletsis in Saranda. Bochka and ripe in Himarë, and Bochkos in Delvin and Saranda. Glava, cave, and Glavani. And also from Aromanian, Ken, Kena, gray goat, and Kena in Saranda. Karut, sheep with horns, and Kruta in Greek dialects. Quartz, sheep with red face, and Govatsa in Delvin and Saranda. Lai, blackish sheep, and Laia, black sheep, cow in Kudus, and Laia in Saranda. Maj and Maja in both in Himarë and in Saranda. There are also there is a common terminology from Italian and Turkish. From Italian, Gardelli in Lower Himarë, and Gardelli in Saranda. Bodile in Nivica of Lower Himarë, and Butila in Picheras, and Bodila in Kudus and in Saranda. Colon and Colonna, Fortuna and Fortuna, both in Himarë, and in Delvina, Dhog and Dhoga, Mandate and Mandato. From Turkish, Evlat, child, and Vlati in Saranda, Eksik, incomplete, and Ksik in Saranda, Fakir and Fakiris, Grosh, 100 of Turkish lira, and Grosha, Juvech and Juvechi, Hambar and Ambari, Haram and Harami in Delvina. The influence extends beyond the words to discourse and syntax. In Albanian, the construction da plus noun parallels Greek apo plus noun. Hybrid infinitives in local Greek such as meto plus a verb are modeled on Albanian periphrastic infinitives like meta ardor, upon coming. Function words also cross boundaries. Albanian uses the Greek kathedit every day, while Greek adopts the Albanian particle ma in comparisons. These cases show that bilingualism reshaped not only the vocabulary, but also the very structure of speech. Altogether, the evidence allows us to speak of Himarë Linguistic League. This region represents a micro-Sprachbund where prolonged coexistence and shared religion, migration, and autonomy led to the convergence of two languages. The local phenomena mirror the larger Balkan Sprachbund, but on a smaller scale, and partially and in fewer features, concentrated in a handful of villages. It is important to emphasize that linguistic contact cannot be separated from cultural and social life. The migrations of the Himaryas, their mercenary service, and their ties with Porto and the Ionian Islands brought new elements into the vocabulary and culture. Partial autonomy under the Ottomans gave them space to preserve distinctive traditions. The result was a stable bilingualism that fostered a shared communicative culture blurring linguistic boundaries. The case of Himarë shows us that bilingualism can shape every level of language, phonetics, morphology, lexicon, and syntax. It demonstrates that the lexicon is the richest area of borrowing, but also that pragmatic and syntactic structures can be reshaped by contact. Himarë thus functions as a laboratory of Balkan linguistic interaction. The study of this region also challenges nationalist myths of purity by showing that language is always a testimony of coexistence, exchange, and shared identity. Thank you very much, and happy anniversary, dear friend and Professor Andrei Sobolev. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, please make questions and comments. Nastya, yes, please. Come here. Смотри туда и говори сюда. Там, чуть поближе, да.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. I have a question about the phonetic section of it, specifically about the punctualization of k. Is it realized as a phonetical plosive or as an affricate? Because the thing is, I have gathered from my own work with Albania and village Solenice, and from the bibliographical work that there seems to be a tendency towards a general tendency towards punctualization of phonetical plosives across the Balkan Sprachbund, and if it's exacerbated by the Greek-Albanian language contact in Himarë, it would be a very interesting piece of evidence.
Yeah, thank you. So your question is that palatal is affricate or fricative or plosive. It's my answer is it is a clear plausive.
So it's a plausive.
Yes. No signs. No signs of affricative or affricate.
And is there any specific data about how the original palatal plosives, I mean, where there's supposed to be the Albanian any specific data on how these are realized in Himarë? Any extra palatalization?
I could not hear you clearly, but I think.
Is there any data about the original Albanian palatal plosives, which are like the original k containing words? How are they realized in Himarë? Is there any extra move towards palatalization?
No, this in fact the palatal k is in the inventory of the Himarë phonetics, both in the Albanian and in Greek-speaking areas. But there are some cases where palatals in the Greek-speaking areas where k turns to palatal k before front vowels, and these pronunciation habits are mirrored to the Albanian-speaking villages of Himarë. Additionally, we have palatalization in these phonetic circumstances, environments.
Okay, thank you. So there are plosives, after all, the ones that you presented. Thank you. That's really important. That's really important evidence, because I think palatalization in the Balkans has been studied atomically, so to speak, just to some cases here and some cases there. So some extra evidence is always very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Настя. Андрей Николаевич, one word you say? Yeah.
Дорогой Аристотель, благодарю вас за замечательный доклад. Мне разрешили только одно слово времени.
Лучше, наверное, по-английски.
Yes, I will say this one will be in. Your research fills a gap in studies on Himarë, because you start where we stopped 5 or 6 years ago. We indeed knew very few about Albanian used by Greek language 1 speakers. Говоря по-русски, мы совсем не знали ничего о том, на каком албанском говорят грекоязычные жители Himarë. So it's a very important step forward, and I thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much, dear Andrei, and happy birthday again.
Thank you, dear Aristotle. Thank you thanks to all speakers. Now we have a break till 5 o'clock, and then we'll continue with general and diachronic linguistics. Thank you very much. Спасибо. Ты можешь с любого, я тебе сделаю с организатором. Здравствуйте. Вот, пожалуйста.